Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed the janitor's cart down the polished marble hallway of Pinnacle Tower. At 62, his weathered hands told the story of 4 decades spent cleaning office buildings, each wrinkle a testament to late nights and early mornings. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch endlessly before him. He'd seen countless people pass through these halls of executives in expensive suits, young interns clutching coffee cups like lifelines, security guards with tired eyes. But tonight, the 37th floor felt different. Tonight, someone needed him in a way that had nothing to do with mopping floors or emptying trash cans. The woman sat alone in the reception area, her shoulders trembling slightly as she stared at her phone screen. Her business attire was wrinkled, her usually perfect hair disheveled, and tears glistened on her cheeks under the harsh office lighting. She kept looking towards the elevators, then back at her phone, her fingers moving frantically across the screen in what Marcus recognized as sign language, even though no one was there to see it. Marcus had learned American Sign Language 23 years ago when his grandson Danny was born deaf. What started as a necessity became a passion, opening up a world of silent communication that most people never experienced. He'd practiced with Danny every weekend, their hands dancing through conversations about baseball games, homework troubles, and dreams of the future. Now Danny was in college, studying engineering, but Marcus still remembered every sign, every gesture, every expression that made their wordless conversations come alive. He approached the woman slowly, not wanting to startle her. When she looked up, her eyes were red-rimmed and desperate. Marcus set down his mop and, with gentle movements, signed, "Are you okay? Can I help you?" The transformation on her face was immediate. Her eyes widened in surprise, then filled with relief so profound it made Marcus's chest tighten. Her hands began moving rapidly, and Marcus found himself leaning in to catch every sign. "I'm Sarah Chen," she signed, her movements precise despite her emotional state. "I had a presentation today for the Chen Foundation's new initiative to provide technology for deaf students. My interpreter got sick, and the meeting ran so late that all the car services stopped running in this area. My phone died, and I can't call anyone. I've been sitting here for 2 hours, and everyone who passes by just looks right through me." Marcus felt something stir in his chest, not pity, but recognition. He'd seen that look before, the isolation that came when the world seemed to move around you without acknowledgement. "Where do you need to go?" he signed back. "Brooklyn Heights," Sarah replied. "But it's so far, and I don't have cash for a taxi." I tried to explain to people, but she gestured helplessly at her mouth, then at her ears. Marcus glanced at the clock on the wall. His shift ended in 20 minutes, but that didn't matter. "I'll drive you," he signed. "My car is in the employee garage." Sarah's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with fresh tears, but these were different. These were tears of gratitude, of unexpected kindness from a stranger. "I can't ask you to do that. It's so far out of your way." "You're not asking," Marcus signed with a gentle smile. "I'm offering. My grandson is deaf. I know what it feels like to be unheard." What neither Marcus nor Sarah knew was that 3 floors above them, Richard Pinnacle stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, watching the scene unfold below. At 35, he'd built his tech empire through ruthless efficiency and an almost supernatural ability to spot talent and character. He'd been working late, finalizing the acquisition of a smaller company, when movement in the reception area caught his eye. He couldn't hear the conversation happening below, couldn't see the intricate dance of hands that was taking place, but he could see kindness in action. He watched as the janitor, a man whose name he'd never thought to learn despite seeing him in these halls for years, gathered his cleaning supplies with careful efficiency. He watched as the man gestured toward the elevators, as the woman stood and followed, her posture straightened by hope. Richard found himself reaching for his phone, dialing his head of security. "Johnson, there's a janitor on the 37th floor helping a visitor. I want you to follow them discreetly. Make sure they get to wherever they're going safely." "Sir, is there a security concern?" "No," Richard said quietly, still watching the elevator doors close. "Just make sure they're safe." The drive to Brooklyn Heights took 90 minutes through the maze of New York traffic. Marcus and Sarah talked the entire way, not with voices, but with hands and expressions, and the kind of communication that transcends sound. Sarah told him about her foundation's work, how she'd lost her hearing in a car accident at age 7 and how that experience had shaped her mission to ensure other deaf children had access to the technology and support she lacked. Marcus shared stories about Danny, about learning to see the world through deaf eyes, about the rich culture and community he'd discovered in the deaf world. He told her about the challenges Danny had faced in school, the teachers who dismissed him as slow before understanding his brilliance, the friends who'd learned to sign just to include him. When they reached Sarah's brownstone, she turned to Marcus with tears streaming down her face. "How do I thank you?" she signed. "You saved me tonight. Not just from being stranded, but from feeling invisible." "You were never invisible," Marcus signed back. "Sometimes people just don't know how to see." The next morning, Marcus arrived at work to find an envelope waiting for him at the security desk. Inside was a letter on Pinnacle Corporation letterhead and a check that made his hands shake. The letter was brief. "Marcus, I witnessed your kindness last night. The Chen Foundation's work aligning with deaf accessibility has been brought to my attention, and I'm pleased to inform you that Pinnacle Corporation will be funding their initiative with a $2 million grant. Additionally, your dedication to service and human connection has earned you a position as our Director of Employee Relations, with a starting salary that reflects the value you bring to our company. The world needs more people who understand that true leadership happens in quiet moments when no one is watching. Thank you for showing me what that looks like." It was signed simply, R. Pinnacle. Marcus sat in the security office, staring at the letter, the check, the impossible transformation of his life in the span of one night. But what struck him most wasn't the money or the promotion. It was the last line of the letter, written in different handwriting at the bottom. "P.S. I've enrolled in ASL classes. I'd like to learn to see the world the way you do." 3 months later, at the grand opening of the Chen Foundation's first tech center for deaf students, Marcus stood beside Sarah as she addressed the crowd. Richard Pinnacle was there too, his signing still elementary but earnest as he welcomed the students and their families. Danny was in the front row, beaming with pride as his grandfather signed Sarah's speech for those in the audience who needed it. The boy who'd taught Marcus that communication was about so much more than words watched as his grandfather's small act of kindness rippled outward, touching hundreds of lives. As Sarah finished her speech, she caught Marcus's eye and signed something that only he could see. "Thank you for helping me find my voice." Marcus signed back, his weathered hands moving with the grace of long practice. "Thank you for helping me find my purpose." In a world that often moves too fast to notice, sometimes it takes the quiet wisdom of someone who's learned to communicate without words to remind us that the most important conversations happen not with our voices, but with our hearts. And sometimes, just sometimes, those conversations are exactly what someone else is watching for or waiting to learn what true leadership really looks like.